Black Fate is a band from Greece. They've been around for a fair while now. They formed the band in 1990, but the first album didn't actually come out until I think it was 2002. Now they've done 3 albums from this point, but they do have a fourth on the way that is going to be out October this year. The album we're reviewing at the minute is the third album. So this is the second album by the vocalist Vasilis. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And it's the first album to feature the lead guitarist Gus Drax. So I stumbled across this band from the band Theocracy because he did some kind of super group thing to raise funds for something, and Gus was the lead guitarist who did the solo on that track, while the Theocracy vocalist did the vocals and the rhythm guitar of the track. And then one of the other vocalists on the track was Vasilis again. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So I thought the solo was great. I thought Vasilis was a strong vocalist. I heard them first in a different band, which was Sunburst, which has this vocalist and guitarist. And then looking into what else they've done across Black Fate. So they label themselves as melodic metal, and I will get back to that at some point, or more likely at random points throughout this album. I will keep touching on the fact that this is supposedly melodic metal. So this album is a fairly decent length. It is I think just over an hour, so it's pretty much dead on the hour mark. It consists of 11 tracks. I will get back to that though, because technically it's only 10. The label is Ethereum Records. So let's just get into this. So far, I'm not going to try and overdo this. I'm just going to really touch on the vital points. So, the melodic metal, I technically don't agree with this. I more kind of see it as it's just basically just heavy metal, because there is kind of a lack of melody when it comes to this band. So, people who know the guitarist Gus Drax, and this will tie into what I was talking about with the melody, they see Gus as a phenomenal guitarist. He is absolutely legendary. He is very fast, and all this is true. He is a very technical guitarist. He definitely knows his way around a fretboard. He has real immense speed. He knows a lot of different kind of tricks and everything to perform on the guitar. So he is very good. A lot of people actually go out the way and say he is one of the best, if not the greatest guitarist, which I think is really naive. And they probably don't know that many guitarists, because crying out loud, there is phenomenal guitarists out there, so Gus doesn't come close. But technically he's known as a really good guitarist. And for this album, therefore we have this phenomenal guitarist, a person who knows all these things. He's fast, technical, intricate, he's really technical. He knows all these things with the guitar and how to get around a fretboard and everything. So he would be an asset to this. This is his first outing, so what does he bring? Not much of anything. I find him one of the worst aspects of the band. And as I say, I do agree, he is a phenomenal guitarist. He knows his way around the fretboard. As for a songwriter, this is where he falls flat. And this ties into the melodic metal. The fact is, Gus has no melody to him in the slightest. If you listen to Rhythm of the False Orchestra, or the next track, Lines in the Sand, or the track after that, Game of Illusions, or the track after that, Into the Night, or the track after that, In Your Eyes, or the track after that, Call of the Wild, every single track, Gus approaches verses and chorus all exactly the same. There's not a lot to really distinguish between them. So the album has a lot of repetition because of the way Gus plays throughout the songs. He'll do an intro and that may have something to it, and then throughout, as I say, the verse and the chorus, he is very repetitive with how he approaches it, and it's a really unmelodic kind of way he does it, which takes away that kind of melodic metal thing which they label themselves as. Now people will complain saying he does things in choruses and verses, it's not just exactly the same thing. Like he does tidbits, but that is about it. Every single verse and chorus is always kind of like a gallop or chugging power chord chords. There is no lead work, there is no melody, there's nothing that is really held or bend or a slide. There is nothing. Everything is just heavy gain, no warmth or beauty of tone, just something really just thick and aggressive being played through power chord or chords, which gives it a very lack amount of melody or creativity or originality and individuality between all these tracks. And because of that, this is therefore one of the worst aspects, because each verse and each chorus from a guitarist aspect is really lacking anything. There's no melody, there's no emotion for me to kind of engage with it, there's no lift, there's nothing. It is basically just chugging a rhythm along while the vocalist basically does everything else, and then Gus will do a solo. Now leading into the solos throughout this album, again, Gus is like a one-trick pony. He only does one thing, and that is speed and doing things that kind of sound slightly aggressive, because he has that big lack of melody to him. So Rhythm of a False Orchestra is mostly kind of fast. It lacks kind of like a warmth or something slow, which has this great kind of groove to it. There is one section, I guess, in Rhythm of a False Orchestra where he puts a little small tidbit of a groove in there. Lines in the Sand, again, incredibly fast. Game of Illusion, this song doesn't even have a solo, which is incredibly weird, as Gus, as I say, is known as one of the big guitar legends and is used in other bands as well as special guests because he's talented. And then every other track has a solo, but for some reason Game of Illusions just doesn't have one. Fairly odd. Now, a lot of people are going to come out and try and defend Gus again by saying there are solos where he is actually slow. Yes, that is right. He isn't all just speed. For the most part, he is. Every solo does have speed in it, but it's not consistent speed. Most of it is, but then you do get the odd track where there's more to it than pure speed. But again, the problem is the fact that it's like what the verse and the chorus is. It's emotionally just empty. He'll do something a bit more kind of groove-based, but it's not written very well that it actually has this real nice kind of energy or a flow to it. It's basically just like, it's a more open section that's not just speed, and it's not slow, therefore it's a mid-tempo thing, but it's just a mid-tempo thing. There's just nothing else really there. And then sometimes he'll try to do something, so I think it's the solo without saying a word, because that's like the only full-on melodic track on the album. So I think that's the solo where Gus really tries to do full-out melodic solo, but the issue with this is simple. It's kind of like giving a computer program tools to do a guitar solo and say we want you to do a melodic guitar solo. Now, the thing is, a computer doesn't have a heart, it doesn't have a soul, it doesn't have emotion. It can just do what it thinks. It's all just thinking, no emotion being put in. So it does, it's slow, with some more open stuff and no kind of shred or technicality thrown in, although I still think Gus probably does the solo still, because he can't stop himself. But as I say, it's emotionally dead. It's like there's no real person behind it. I don't get the person's thoughts or emotion through it. There's just no story or emotion or anything to the solos. They're all just technical. Now for the simple music listener, this will clearly be fine. I'm like an elitist. I nitpick everything. I deconstruct everything. When I go into an album, it's I don't like this until the album starts proving to me that it's worth liking. And then it has to do all these things in order to achieve that. And they have to fight hard. It's not, can you play the guitar? Yes, that's it. I have to completely dissect everything about the guitarist. And as far as this goes, as I said, just the lack of melody, the lack of songwriting when it comes to the solos, it's just something just kind of just blurted out, and it's not memorable because there's nothing signature about it. There's nothing, no emotion, no warmth, nothing. When he tries to do something more groove or melodic bass, because it starts more slower, then it goes technical. It's just, there's nothing to it. I listened to it with my girlfriend and asked what her opinion was. I said, this is Gus, he's a really good guitarist, what did you think of the song? And there wasn't really much of anything to it. Like, no. Like, you didn't think he was technically compliant? She's like, yeah, it's just, there was just nothing really special about it. My girlfriend just listens to whatever the hell's catchy enough and is easy enough, and she found this completely dead and void. So, that's the way she thinks, then there's clearly an issue, and she's just a casual listener. As I say, some casual listeners will find it pleasing. I know when I was a really young kid and didn't overanalyze these stuff, if I would have heard this and I'd have been like, that is really, really fast, therefore 10 out of 10 best guitarist out there. And some people, that is completely fine and they get so much enjoyment out of it. And I'm not going to say that's wrong and you shouldn't, and you should be better than that. If you get great enjoyment out of it, then I don't want to destroy that. But this is a critique of the album, and I need to point out the flaws, unfortunately. So these are the flaws. If these don't account to you personally, fair enough. But these are the flaws I have with Gus. Now, as far as the rest of the songs go, because Gus' guitar kind of does drive a lot of kind of tone in the melody, and the melody is kind of lacking and the tone is very dark, and they label themselves melodic, I struggle to see where the melody actually is. Because everything is just, as I said, just chords, everything. And then the vocalist, who is high-end, let's talk about him. He's got a very kind of dark voice. It's not incredibly high, cheerful like Theocracy, which has a very bright voice. This is a kind of deep, more bass kind of voice. And then to go obviously with the chords and everything, it just makes this really, really dark. Now this is just the way his voice is, so I'm not complaining like, oh, I want him to have a high voice. That's not the way it is. This is his voice. How does he do with it? He does perfectly well. He is a great singer. It's just all of it together. It just makes a lot of dark tone, and there is just no real melody to it. The vocalist does vocal melodies, but again, because his voice is so bass heavy, and then the guitarist doesn't bring any melody to it, nor much of the rest of the band. It really, really kind of is a bit disappointing. But overall, I do enjoy the album. As I say, it is repetitive because Gus doesn't do much through the song until it gets to solo, and even then, it's not very versatile. But the vocalist, lucky enough, has got a good voice, so I do enjoy it for what it is. The band don't really work very well together, but I will admit, the vocalist is fine if you just kind of focus on him and what he's capable of. Is he bad? No, he is good. What's he singing? Is it bad? No, it's good. Is the vocal melodies? Yes. So he is probably the best in this band. He's kind of the thing that keeps it going, kind of keeps that melody going. And then, as I say, each track do have their own kind of unique thing. So Lines in the Sand does kind of have that kind of Egyptian, kind of Latin kind of sound to it. There is some kind of resemblance of that kind of culture in that song. It's not overused, but it is in there, which gives it, an identity, which is fairly unique. In Game of Illusions, the chorus of that has a real dark kind of groove to it, which is very kind of enjoyable. I rather like it. Only problem is, I say, there's no solo in this track. Into the Night has a really nice chorus. Again, doesn't give it any lift or oomph at all. But the vocalist, at least, Vasilis, whatever that's his name, how you pronounce it, he really gives Into the Night this emotion. So it just sounds kind of sad. So it's like I can get an emotion out of him. So it really kind of sounds sad, like depressing, as he just sings Into the Night. In Your Eyes is a bit more kind of upbeat. Perfect Crime. This is somewhat different from Gust because the intro has a lot of pinched harmonics. So he's just absolutely going at it with pinched harmonics throughout. And it just gives a lot of energy. A pinched harmonic isn't really something you would class as melody, but at least it's something just chord based. So it gives it a lot of aggression, a lot of energy with pinched harmonics, because it just screams constantly. So the entire intro is just this screaming high pitched wail of guitar notes mixed in with the kind of chords and everything. So that definitely gives it an energy. And then pre-chorus and everything, there is a bit of kind of speed he does, which gives it a bit of something else. And then chorus to verse, he does the pinched harmonics again, so it gives a lot of energy to it. So A Perfect Crime does give energy to the song, so it's not all just kind of dark, broody chord, power chord. A Perfect Crime is definitely the most energetic song of the album. In between other tracks, as I say, choruses have groove. They have a different kind of beat to it, a different tempo and things, different vocal melodies, all to give songs unique signature pieces. But as I said, the songs do all have a repetitive aspect to them as well. They all do have a very, very similar tone to them, and tempo kinda. And as I say, there's only tweaks here and there. Some songs where it gets to the bridge section, it'll be just melodic and clean, instead of plugged into the kind of heavy gain stuff. So that gives a song a drastic kind of change from going heavy to something more melodic. That brings a really good kind of a welcome adjust, so everything's not really repetitive. And then other songs, it just starts melodic and then it builds into the kind of heavy stuff. So, as I say, there is some creativity and versatility and uniqueness between tracks. It's just little things, from the vocalist to tempo, as well as how the song is written. It just kind of changes it. So the tone and everything is just really repetitive. And then the last track, which at the start I said there was 11 tracks, but technically it's actually 10. Well, the last track actually isn't a track, it's just an outro. So why would you bother? After the 10th track, The Weight of the World, you go into track 11, and it's not the band, it's just effects that just kind of play out the album. But on most albums, the last track, when it ends, it just ends. So you would be perfectly happy with that. So why would anyone get to the end of Weight of the World and then listen to anything and go, I needed this really complements the end? It doesn't, unfortunately. So In Fear, outro, track 11, it is a completely pointless track. It is a waste of time. Luckily, because it's at the end, it means that I can basically just turn it off immediately after the track is done and never have to deal with it. Unlike when you get the intro track, which is really pointless, you have to put it in, have it load, it'll play 1 second, and then you have to skip it, which has a lot going on. This, I just put the disc in, go through all 10 tracks, turn it off. It's just a little bit more easier that way, but again, it's just completely pointless having that 11th track. So that is somewhat sum up of the album, which I've kept to 2040 at this point in time, and I've given you the good, bad, the ins and outs of the album. And as I say, they got a new album coming out in October. I think it's on the same date as like Defecto or something, so there's a lot coming out on that same date. But I'll be reviewing that. They have released a track from it, which sounds exactly like this album. It has a lot of no melody. Gus goes for a lengthy solo, which is lacking a very, very kind of strong melody to it. And it's just dark. It's broody. It's lacking richness and warmth. Or anything different from what has been accomplished on this album between Vision and Lies. So that album could just be all of the same, and if so, it means there's been no growth, and there's no reason to go for that album when you've got it here, so that album would be ranked a bit below this. But that's my review anyway. Let's keep it short and just go to the score. I would probably give it a 7.5. It is still a very good album. You get your solos, the solos are technical. The songs do change enough to keep the enjoyment throughout. It's not something you're going to be really lost in and mesmerised by and, you know, blown away by. But as I say, it does enough to keep the interest going from start to finish. Take out the last track, obviously. And you've got a good vocalist, and you've got some good vocal melodies, and when the album gets under your skin and you listen to it enough times, bits of songs do stick out and then become memorable. So it's still a very good album, as I say. It's an enjoyable listen, so from start to end. A good vocalist, guitarist. There is solos there, so you do get, you know, your solos, and they are technical, so there's that. It's just nothing that is going to blow you away. As I said, unless you're a person who just, if there's a fast technical guitarist, that's all you need, that's the best thing ever, then there you go. For me, it's just a little disappointing. I just take it as, there's a solo, so it kind of does it for me, but I'm not really bothered. I'm just kind of glad there's just at least something. And yeah, the vocalist is definitely the best part of the band, but hopefully the new album, as I said, that track is kind of more along the same lines as this. Hopefully Gus really tries to open them up, because he's just so kind of stuck in his ways of manly sounds. I can't do melody or emotion because I have a willy. It's just so kind of dull. If you kind of take, you know, the vocals out, it would be pretty dull. But yeah, 7.5, and I'll leave it there because it's coming to 25. I'm going to keep this short. See you in the next one.